Hello and welcome. We're here at episode 5 already. And today we are dealing with this big central building surrounded by hotels in the middle of our city. The big status symbol for our city, presumably. I guess that's why most of these buildings are made. They're certainly not the most practical way to do anything. So I guess these buildings are just to show off your might and money and, being able to throw away money that you could be used for much better reasons on just a big building, just to stick it up like a big middle finger to the rest of the world. That's why we have these buildings, and that's why presumably we built this one, just to show off. Here I'm just trying to figure out I was thinking to put in some parking in for it, because it made sense that even though obviously the city, I keep on saying it, but we don't want too many people driving. I don't want to incentivize people to park, but thought it made sense to have an underground parking if there was going to be any parking, and seeing as it's a low footprint, space is limited, so anything we do, we're trying to make it a low footprint, but I don't end up making this one work. And only because I decide, having roads in the center of the roundabout doesn't make too much sense, and also because you could see that it was giving that error where it said it didn't have a road connection because it thinks it's a park, even though it does function as a car park. So it needs to have a road connection right in front of it, and I couldn't really get that to work very well. Plus, I found this big building, and I thought this would be much better use of space, because I thought the building, it looked like it was just sticking out of concrete with no proper base. You'd expect when you got to a big building, it has like a proper entrance, and you'd have a lobby with some maybe other services and some commercial stuffs. But this one was just it was a big monolith sticking out of nowhere. I found this building, which is a library actually, but it doesn't actually function as a library anymore because I turned it into a procedural object, which means it's now just the model. It doesn't really interact with a lot at all. So now it's now just part of that up of the bigger building now. But I slapped these down. I put a few of them around to kind of make a little triangle shape to complement the larger shape of the big building, so I don't think it looks too bad. And the rest of the episode is just trying to figure out what to do around this area. The front entrance, I guess, is what you would call it here. I just put down the park, like a little plaza thing with a fountain and some paths for people that will walk around. And on this side, I really like the idea of having a pool. It kind of reminded me of like the Bellagio or the Burj Khalifa itself, I suppose. It's probably a better example, which I'll show on screen, the kind of idea. Obviously, I don't have the city skylines, and the workshop don't really have the assets or capability to quite pull that off and look good. But even so, I'm still limited for space. So I'm just decided we'll keep it with this very small pool, and just have this little one area where there's like a little pool just to make it look nice. It's not a functional pool. You're not supposed to swim in it, but even though there is a hotel one, I guess we should probably put some pools down, because there's the ocean, I suppose. But people want pools, you want to go to the pool and sunbathe and have some cocktails on some deck chairs. And sometimes you don't always want to do that on the ocean. So yeah, I probably should put down a proper pool, but we'll work on the area surrounding this in the future. It still didn't quite have like a proper entrance that I was happy with. Like even these libraries, these are still just, they still don't have like what looks like a place that you would go into the building. So I do my favorite thing of finding other buildings to smoosh into other buildings to combine them. I don't know what this is originally. It's a cafe or some office or something, but I like it. Like there's no wood in front. So I just slid that in there. I was kind of digging the idea of having like some kind of glass box lobby thing at the front, but I couldn't get to work. Possibly if I knew more about how procedural objects works, I could maybe make something, but I was pretty lost with that. So I closed that up and just try to find some more buildings to go inside. But it's hard to really find something that works perfectly. I might have to come back to that to try and find something I really like. On this big office front here, which I move around to the other side, even though it's opaque, you can imagine that would be more transparent, and that would add a bit more depth when you're on the ground level to see into the building itself. As you can see, whenever there's an area where there's really any concrete, or anywhere that people especially are going to be walking, I like to put down some like cobblestone or some bricks or tiles or something. Just looks a lot better than the base concrete. I think there's actually a mod to change that base concrete too. Like you can change it to like one of these like tile cobblestoney textures. Maybe I should look into that, just because I would maybe save me having to put down all these squares every time. I put down this little sunken plaza. I quite like the idea of that sunken plaza because it's got these commercial buildings when you go down inside. So it's like it's stylish and it's got shops. That's awesome, but it doesn't really line up with the angles of the building right now. So I do end up switching that out. I find this cafe here because I'm always thinking if this was a real building, as ridiculous as it kind of is, if it did exist, if I was to be down on the ground level, what would I expect to be around here? Because the big building coming out of nowhere, would you expect just open empty space around it? I know I wouldn't. So I was thinking, what would you expect if you were you're a tourist, or if you were someone who who was working in this big building, which I assume is mostly office, as well as maybe some residential and hotels and stuff. If you were a person who's coming in here every day, you would expect, there'd be like a place to get coffee. You'd have some coffee shops and some commercial and places where people would go get lunch and whatever around. I'll put some more of those kinds of things in the areas surrounding it. I'll deal with that in future episodes, but I thought just seeing as you have these little plazas, pedestrian plazas in the middle, this is a place that you would definitely have, little small businesses here. Like this is a little Starbucks knockoff. You would definitely have that down here. I put some other building there. It's just some like convenience store kind of thing. I think just it sort of kind of gets the vibe of it. Looks like it's a mixed commercial. It kind of just it gets the vibe done. So I'm kind of artificially creating these mixed use buildings by phasing other ones in. I'm just putting a metro station around the other side of it. Putting another metro station in the CBD section, which you haven't worked on yet, as well as just here near the stadium. So I hook those all together. As you can see, I'll skip ahead a little bit because I forgot to record. But again, I just put down this cobblestone around the metro station. I put in this other commercial, which is like a Cold Rock Cafe, is what that is. I put down these tables and chairs where you would sit. An open area where plaza you'd have seating. You'd have a little bit of greenery ideally. And of course I put the actual cafe in there. It's also out some other places to eat where you could possibly get some food. You can see there I sort of slowed down there for a second while I was going into first person mode, saying I've been doing a little bit more with that first person mode, and I'm really liking it. It gets the idea of where to help me get into the space mindset of I'm a pedestrian standing here and not minding the really low polygons and not great graphics. It helps really get a sense of like, what can I imagine these spaces looking like? And they help me to visualize, I can imagine having these little seats outside of this restaurant here. I think it's a tavern, is what it's called. It's a tavern and an Allstate, which I think is like an insurance company in the US. I think I googled it quickly. I forgot exactly what it was, which I think also makes sense to have like a little office down the bottom. But having that tavern there, you have the coffee for people getting there in the morning, but then when you're done with work, there's less people just coming out of the hotels looking for some place to eat. Have this little tavern there where you could go inside with all the stuff sitting on the outside, and you can get some tavern meal, whatever that would be. You can get like some Guinness and some stew and some pies and bangers and mash. I don't know why I'm associating tavern with like English pub there. It could be many different types of styles of food, but if there was a TGI Fridays asset in the workshop, I would definitely put that there. That would just make a lot of sense. Like that just is the kind of area that I would imagine it would go. But yeah, I'll put some more of those kinds of things in the surrounding areas because there'll be a lot of places where people want to eat food. Back to this fountain. I download some more assets. I just wanted to try them out. I put this one down. It doesn't look great. I did like the more flat look of it, which goes right up to the building. I did quite like that. That coffee shop kept disappearing, so I'm just trying to fix that. I think I set it as like a historical building to try and force it to not disappear next time. So hopefully that sticks this time. Again, I'm just going to first person mode, taking a look around, and this is to see, if I'm a person here, what can I see should be changed. And like in this case, I was thinking when I was down there, it just looked a bit like grey when I was in this area, so I changed those paths to a red one. You can see around the area where I was, there's actually, I forgot to record that area as well, where I just put down some greenery and some gardens, but I'll have some b-roll at the end, so you'll be able to get a better look of that, because that looks really nice around the front, having those gardens around that square. Here I'm just going back to trying to find a lobby that can go over top of this building to kind of make it look a little bit more laid, a little bit more built up, but I'm struggling to find something. I think I do land on something, but I could probably go back and try and find something again in future if I just happen to find something that I think works really well. I think you saw it in an early clip because I have these a bit out of order, but now I'm just trying to find a entranceway to these buildings, because you can see people just kind of phase through the front there, and the building itself just kind of rises from the ground, much like the big one did, and you kind of need a way to ground it to make it look like this is a place where you actually come in. Even if from the ground itself you don't notice it as much, as long as us as the player and the observer, you can convince yourself that it looks like a proper lobby. It should help a lot. So I'm trying to find an entrance or some way to an entrance or some building I can phase through to make it look a little bit better. But I find something in a minute, but I still not again happy with that. Again, that's something I probably might come back to if I find something that works really well. Just while I was looking for an entrance, I happened to find another pool that works really well. So I was like, that's perfect. I was just been looking for this. So I switched that around. I like this one a little bit more, so we go with that one. But yeah, anyway, back to the what I was doing before I got distracted by the pool. I find this little glass entranceway here and I phase it through. And again, it doesn't work too well when you're down on ground level, but way from above it looks a little bit better. I could probably go back and work on it again, try and make it look a little better, but I'll leave it like that for now, and we'll. I didn't want to be working on it too long. I think this is a building I end up going with, but I think I should probably change it. I don't think the colors work. I'm just going through the realistic population stuff right now. Because the main building, because I turned it into a procedural object, I actually went back and I turned that lobby building. I manually set the parameters so that there was 1,000 jobs for that tiny little lobby building. So that's kind of simulating the amount of jobs that the whole entire building would have. You can see more garden, which I forgot to film, but you'll see a little bit of that in the slow motion footage at the end. So now just finishing up here, I'm just turning these city streets, which we're working in next episode or one after, let's change those into a pedestrian only street to really emphasize the pedestrian nature of this city, to kind of make this super block concept. But anyway, this is the end of this episode. You'll see the b-roll at the end of this, and we'll hopefully see you in the next episode.